In this video, we are going to sort out the seatbelts on this 1975 Mercedes 280 SL. In previous videos, we've talked about the seatbelt receivers, and we've actually sourced the correct clip-and receivers for this car. What came with the car was wrong, but in this video, we're actually going to sew on the belt buckles at the bottom of the seatbelt because they are not currently attached. Now, this is what came off our parts car, and it's way too rusty, so we've actually sourced ones in better condition. They're just a little bit rusty, so we need to strip off the rust, paint them, and then sew them on. At present, the seat belts are not attached in our car, and one of the things I have to do is refurbish this, strip off all the rust, and then I will just paint it with the Rust-Oleum gold paint. It's not a perfect solution because ideally what you should do is send this off to a plater, but they charge, I think they have a minimum order size of £75, and as this is the only two bits we've got to do, for the moment I'm just going to paint them, and then we're going to have to actually sew up the seatbelt. So we've ordered some special thread, and that will give us seatbelts in the car. Before you start stripping the rust off this, you've got to carefully remove this plastic fitting here because those are no longer available. We've got this back to bare metal just using the wire wheel on a drill. One little tip is if you reverse the direction of the drill becomes a little bit more aggressive and will be a little bit quicker to get that plating off. Just arrived in the post today is some super thick strong thread and 2 needles that we are going to need to sew the bottom of our clip-and seatbelt together. We've made sure that this is the right way round, and we just need to do some nice neat lines of stitching here, and that should be almost as good as new. Well, that took about an hour, and it's not perfect, but you know what, you'd have to look really closely to see that that was not OEM. This is not quite the right bolt fitting. We've ordered the correct washers from Mercedes. They're in Germany. They should be here within the next few days, but this will do for the time being. Now, some 107 SLs come with a piece of plastic here covering the clip-and label and also the stitching. And you could, in theory, slide this piece of plastic over even after you've stitched the belt on, and then that's riveted through there. But I'm not going to put that on there simply because I find it really irritating when I'm driving. Having just finished sewing up this seatbelt here, I have realised that I've made not one but 2 schoolboy errors on the other side. I couldn't figure out why this keeps slipping down, and then I realised that unfortunately it's not actually looped through there. So I'm going to have to cut all my beautiful stitching and re-sew that. And the other thing that I've realised, just from looking at my other 280 SL, is that that should be on the other side of the belt, so that should be looped over the other way. So unfortunately I'm going to have to cut all of this lovely stitching and start again. This has taken such a long time to unpick each one of these stitches separately. You'd think you could just cut them. Unfortunately it's not as simple as that, but we're down to the last stitch. Now I can take that out of there. Whoops, not dropping it hopefully, and I can thread this seatbelt buckle in properly. So then, why? But on this passenger seatbelt, this clip-and label is going to be facing outwards like that, whereas on the driver's side here, the clip-and label is going to be on the inside. Now, it wouldn't matter at all if you had the plastic sheathing because you'd never see any of that. Just arrived from Mercedes are the plastic washers and washer that you need to attach this to here. Now, unfortunately, the bolt isn't available from Mercedes anymore, but we do actually have the correct bolt. So these plastic shims, they fit in here like so, and then the washer would go on the outside, and finally the bolt would go through that. Just those washers and the plastic shims, almost £12. For anyone who's interested, the plastic washers from Mercedes, part number 123-992-0205, you'll need 4 of them, and although these are just standard washers, they are actually super thick, and if you want to replace yours, 115-990-6640. So another small milestone. For the first time since I've had this car, we can now actually have a seatbelt on. I have to say, this needle and thread package from eBay has been amazing. The thread is really, really tough. It blends perfectly into the seatbelt, and I'll leave a link to where I got that from. Just before I connect the passenger seatbelt to the passenger seat, I actually need to bolt that seat in the car because it's never been bolted in the car since we've had it. First thing we need to do is take this seat out. These seats on the early Mercedes are just held in by 4 bolts. On the later Mercedes, there is a height mechanism and a spring. These are the under-carpet inlays that I made up, and there's a detailed video on this channel showing how to make up your own, because these are often waterlogged and they cause your floor pans to rot out, but you can actually make up your own. I don't think they're available from Mercedes, and when you can get them new second-hand stock, they're ludicrously expensive. But as I say, these have held up really well over the years. Before we attempt to put this seat back in, we're going to just recut the threads. That's an M8 1.25 thread, and we're going to be replacing the bolts with flanged stainless steel bolts because they do tend to rust in there, and it's quite easy to snap them off if you ever need to get the seat out again. You can see just how much rust and gunk is in there, so it's important to use lots of penetrating oil when you do this. This new stainless steel bolt now goes in there really easily. Before it was really stiff. We finished drilling out and tidying up those threads. Now we just need to put the seat back in. But before you do that, you need to make sure that these little runners here are out exactly the same length. Otherwise, you'll find it incredibly difficult to line up the holes on each side. Just going to use this little plastic spatula here and mark exactly on here where it comes up to on this side, and here on this side you can see that looks about right. Let's see if we can get this chair back in. What I'm going to attempt to do to get this to line up first time is put this piece of brake pipe in the screw hole and then slide the seat along it so I'll know that it's perfectly aligned. I was just about to congratulate myself and have a cup of tea because we managed to get these 2 rear bolts in when I realized that you can see that these holes here don't actually line up. It's really weird because I'm sure the runners are correct. Maybe what's happened is at some stage in the past, these sills on this car have either been replaced or repaired, and they've just covered up the old original holes. Weird. We've actually drilled and tapped a hole in the front rather than the back because it transpired that those threads there were knackered. In fact, that's why I didn't put the seat in to start off with. Now, to do this job properly, what you need to do is take this trim panel off, and one of the little rubber bungs allows you to access that. Put a nut on the back of that and tighten it up rather than just drilling and tapping into the actual sill itself. There we go. Now the passenger also has a seat belt. We just need to tighten that with a spanner. Once again, you could, if you wanted to, slide over these plastic trims here and rivet them, but I'm not going to do that. Winging its way to me from America, I hope, is a complete set of rubber trim strips that go along the door, and I'm going to be doing a very detailed video on how to fit those and what fittings you need, not just for the rubber strips that go on the door and the fenders, but also the chrome strip that goes along the bottom, because they're different fittings. And what you'll find on most SLs, and in fact every SL I've ever seen, is that these strips are invariably damaged. Either there's bits missing, like on here, and you can still get those bits, and I'll show you how to fit them where they come from in the next video. But if your car's had any work done on it, which this one has, you're going to need to drill holes in there, and also if you've had new sills, you're going to need to drill holes in there to connect the lower chrome strip. And what many people don't realize is that there are actually special plastic trims that fit in here, which we've ordered from a company called SLS in Germany, that are designed to protect the paintwork on a newly painted car. So I'll be showing you those. To finish this video, we've just arrived on holiday in our little vintage van in Boscherstein, and the foxes got Grace's flip-flop last night. So I'm going to use this super duper thread and my newfound sewing ability to hopefully fix her flip-flops, because nobody likes to be on holiday without flip-flops.
I got flip-flops!
Did it work?
Yeah, it did.
Let's have a look. Oh, you are lucky. Come on then, let's get to the beach.
Yay.